saídas de emergência devidamente sinalizadas, como vocês podem observar aqui no nosso painel. Não precisa desligar o seu celular. Apenas use em modo silencioso. Filme, fotografe e poste, sempre usando a nossa hashtag BigFestival 2018. Aproveite. Nosso próximo painel, Blockchain Tokenização. Sejam todos bem-vindos ao Big Festival 2018, o maior festival de games independentes da América Latina. Antes de anunciar nosso próximo painel, eu gostaria de lembrar que você pode enviar sua pergunta e somente pode enviar a sua pergunta pelo nosso aplicativo Big Festival. As perguntas serão encaminhadas ao nosso moderador no final do painel. E aproveite também o sinal livre do Wi-Fi aqui do Centro Cultural São Paulo. Nosso próximo painel tem como tema novas tecnologias de rede e de transações online com blockchain pode deixar os eSports mais seguros e transparentes. Eu gostaria de convidar ao palco como nosso moderador, vamos receber com muitos aplausos e carinho, André Faure da GamePlan. Seja muito bem-vindo, André. Obrigado pela presença. Nosso palestrante, também vamos receber com muitos aplausos e carinho, Vijai Karthigesu, da Ubique Networks. Seja bem-vindo. André, o comando é todo seu.
Muito bem. Bom, eu vou começar em português, mas eu vou já mudar para o inglês. Essa palestra ela vai ser inteira em inglês, por conta da presença do Vijai aqui. Queria reforçar para vocês mandarem perguntas. Normalmente esse é um assunto que cria muitas perguntas. Então, se vocês não têm um aplicativo, enfim, mandem através do aplicativo as perguntas, porque é um assunto muito rico e o Vijai é um dos grandes especialistas no mundo sobre esse assunto. Tanto que eu vou falar o currículo dele, que na verdade tem umas 150 páginas. Eu vou falar rapidinho. O Vijai é o CEO da Ubique Networks. É uma empresa de tecnologia que está criando a maior rede de edge cloud do mundo. E games tem uma participação muito grande nisso. Ele é formado em engenharia elétrica pela Universidade de Waterloo e tem MBA pela Wilfrid Laurier University. Então, grandes universidades, aí o cara é bom demais. Já foi chefe de, sei lá, metade das empresas de cloud do mundo. E a outra metade é de blockchain. E ele defende que a tecnologia deve ser usada focada no ser humano e descentralizada para a era vindoura, para as coisas que estão acontecendo aí, que vão acontecer no futuro, parte de blockchain, internet das coisas, IoT e 5G. I'm gonna switch to English now. First, thank you so much, Vijai, for being here, having this amazing opportunity to give this insight for everyone here. So I'm gonna start asking one thing, and what. So is the question that everybody wants to hear the answer? What is blockchain? Everybody wants to know that. So you're the guy who you guys who knows that. So what is blockchain? Yep. Okay, there we go.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me and for the opportunity here. Thank you for joining us here. So blockchain is an innovation that's going to change every one of us, the way that we are going to do things. This is one of the biggest trends that's going to change our socio-economic structure permanently. And the way that I'm going to take you through the presentation. This one works? Yeah, okay, cool.
There you go.
So first, we're going to go through some introduction to blockchain. I want to keep it very high level and maybe some bit technology details. So kind of a medium level, I would say. And then
Vijay, try to put your microphone near, like here.
Yep, good.
Yep, there you go.
Very good.
Because you're recording. Okay,
cool,
thank you.
cool. And then we'll go into how this blockchain is going to actually change the whole eSports ecosystem and generally the gaming as well as a whole. So as I mentioned, blockchain is going to change everyone, mine, yours, everybody, and we'll look at it how. If you look at in the history of economists, there are greatest minds like Adam Smith and Karl Marx and John Maynard Keynes. And I would put a person called Satoshi Nakamoto. He is the inventor of blockchain. He invented, published blockchain in 2008. No one knows who Satoshi is, whether he is a person, or persons, a group of people, but that's not really matter. We are going to talk about what he actually did. When he published Bitcoin, is a cryptocurrency system, it was the peak of the financial crisis of 2008. The whole thing was crashing down, and he then came up and published this in, I think, November 1st, 2008. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Right? And this is huge. But it's not the Bitcoin that's going to change everything. It is the underlying technology called blockchain that's going to change everything. So we will look into it. So if you look at the blockchain innovation, before I go into what is blockchain, just to kind of give you the historical trend, you can compare this to the Gutenberg press, or it's called printing press, which sparked the whole printing revolution, that you can able to share ideas and information transcending the borders. So the mass communication, that changed the whole social structure. Then comes the internet. Internet led the whole information revolution. It enabled us to share information. I can send an email, I can send a WhatsApp message directly to you and receive. It created the whole world, it connected the whole world and created that exchange. So now what blockchain is doing, similar to the information exchange, is the value exchange. What if I can send a value, money, or a ownership of my car, ownership of my house when I sell it? What if I can do that in a peer-to-peer without anybody in the middle? So today, we do this value exchange with the middleman in the picture. So the middleman is usually government, banks. When you call an Uber, that's Uber. When you book a hotel with Airbnb, that's Airbnb. The middleman is there. What they are doing is they are giving us the trust so that you and me can do a transaction, and they are kind of me in the middle, recording the transaction, making sure everything is, they're giving the trust so we can do the transaction. They're also solving a huge problem called double spending. What it is, let's say I have a car and I'm trying to sell it to you, and in the meantime, I'm making a negotiation with him and selling the 2 times. If there's no middleman, I can cheat, right? I can sell the same car to 2 people, many people, then there are lots of issues. That's called double spending. So the middleman, whether it's a bank or government, is there to control that and do that. It's working okay, but the problem is they control too much. They collect all the data and control our lives, and they usually, financial transactions, they take a big cut of the transaction, and they become so slow. If I want to send money through Western Union to some other place or wire transfer, it's so slow. And so they become a bottleneck in our society. So we needed a change. So they control, we needed some freedom, and we needed to be able to exchange freely, and that's where blockchain comes in. So blockchain gives you everything a middleman do. The trust, so you and me can exchange, or any one of us, regardless of where we are, can exchange value, whether it's money or I can sell a house or anything. And also eliminating the double spending problem using mathematics and cryptography. We don't want to go too deep into the whole algorithm, but it's using the mathematics and cryptography and removing the middleman and becoming a medium of exchange. That's what blockchain is. How it does is kind of give you a simple example. So one of the things the middleman do, like a bank, it keeps a ledger, right? Like if I have $1,000 in my account or 1,000 reals, and I'm spending it there, I'm spending it here, I'm moving the money there, everything is a ledger. And what blockchain is doing, taking that ledger, let's say this is the group, let's say this is the whole society here, and it's saying every one of us here, our computers will have the ledger, the same ledger. So instead of having a middleman, I'm negotiating and say, okay, I'm actually trusting, I'm recording this thing. What blockchain is doing, every one of us be part of the network, and we as collectively can create consensus and say, yes, you transfer it to you, and we all agree, and we record that, and we keep it. That's what is called distributed and decentralized ledger, owned by nobody. Nobody owns. None of us actually own the whole system, but we all own it collectively. And when we join this system, the system actually compensates for your work, because if these two people are going to make changes, why do you have to work? Why do you have to kind of spend your resources? But this is where blockchain solves what we call it tragedy of the commons. This is the problem today. The term tragedy of the commons was coined by the British economist William Floyd Lloyd. What it is today, let's say as an example, a common pasture, there are 3 farmers, they have cows. If individuals, we think independently, act rationally on the interest of ourselves. It's all about us. Right? We need to, what is in it for us? So in a common pasture, if a farmer acting independently on interest of himself, what is best for him? To buy more cows. Because buy more cows, he doesn't pay for the pasture, and he gets more income. But in a long term, what happens? The pasture will go on, the farmers will be gone, everything will be gone. This is exactly what's happening to our environment. Right? We don't care about the environment, we don't care because we independently act on behalf of it, whether it's a public school bus or public washroom, or your office fridge. If people don't own the fridge and they're just sharing it, it happens. It's called tragedy of the commons, because if you don't own it, you don't care. But how blockchain, actually first time probably in the history, it's bringing a person in China, a person in Russia, a person in Brazil and America and Canada and India, working together, still thinking independently, and on their personal interest, but keeping a common network globally active. How it is doing is, you are compensated with, let's say, Bitcoin network for your work in Bitcoin. But you know, for the Bitcoin to have value, the network has to be up and running. If the network is down, you're gone. So the more you earn, the more you are there, the more it's your best interest to make sure you don't cheat, you actually provide your value, because you can earn more. It's also cryptographically proven. If you try to cheat the system, it's actually better to actually provide your work and earn, because you're not going to earn more by cheating it. So if in a personal way, you still act independently, you still act on your own interest, but you keep the network up and running. That's the beautiful thing about blockchain. That's why actually it works. And it's actually hacker-proof. Blockchain never been hacked. There are some news you hear about that exchange get hacked, and those are applications using blockchain, or some organization using blockchain get hacked. Blockchain never got hacked. So far, the system is actually working. So in the blockchain, there are 2 main ones. One is Bitcoin, using the blockchain technology. This is the one that Satoshi Nakamoto actually originally developed. It is a currency. Then, in 2013, a proud Canadian called Vitalik Buterin, he created a thing called Ethereum using the same blockchain. So in Vitalik's word, how he differentiates blockchain and Ethereum, think about blockchain is like a calculator. You have a calculator, it's beautiful. You actually do one thing, it does a good thing. So blockchain is like a calculator. Think about Ethereum, it's like your smartphone, or your Android phone, your Apple phone. Now you can develop applications. Put it on a smartphone, it could be many applications. There's no real limit to it. So what Ethereum did, using the blockchain, not just for currency, made it available for anything. So I can write an application for auto sale. We can write an application to car sale or land registry or anything that we want. And this is where we are going to talk about how Ethereum is actually going to impact our eSports and the gaming industry. And there are other protocols, other networks. That's irrelevant at this point to talk about it because they all want to be Bitcoin or Ethereum. They're just trying to prove. It might come, but these are the two main things that we would talk. And I personally believe Ethereum is the one going to survive, and it is actually very beautiful. And we are completely committed to Ethereum.
So yeah, smart contract. So I'm going to ask you, I would ask you exactly what is a smart contract, because I know it has to do with, blockchain, but, how that works.
So just a couple of things on that. So Ethereum introduced a couple of concepts. One is called smart contract. Smart contract is, think about like a vending machine. So for example, you go to a vending machine, a Coke machine, and you put $1, and if the Coke is $1, it's going to give you Coke. If you put less money, it's not going to give it to you. So it's basically, it's a simple contract that you have with the vending machine. You are giving money that's going to give you something. So think about that concept. You take it into a blockchain smart contract. It's like a contract that let's say we're going to play a game. Me and you going to play a game, and we agree. If you play, I put $1, you put $1. If whoever wins, going to get $2, and we put that into a contract and put it in, and we will play the game, and the computer knows who wins, and if we win, one of us is going to get the money. If we draw, then they will write it down, and then we get the money back. So that's a simple smart contract. A smart contract is like a contract, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you an example how a smart contract can power an eSports tournament, which actually we are working on that now. I'll give you an example. But that is what a smart contract is. And Ethereum also created something called tokens, part of it. So you can have tokens as a money or token as this. There are two tokens, ERC20 and ERC721. ERC20 token is the one that everybody uses for money type transfer. ERC721 is actually an interesting token for the gaming industry. It is like a non-fungible token. What that means, you can have an asset recorded in ERC721, like your skin or a gun or any virtual good. You can get a token, and then that particular asset has its ownership. That is trackable. And we'll talk a bit about that. That's how the whole virtual goods ecosystem is going to change with these tokens. So using the token, go ahead.
No, sorry. Please continue.
Using the token, we're using these smart contracts, and one or multiple of them, now you can write big applications that deliver these things that we are going to talk about. I'll give you some example how we can actually take advantage of these two, the application and the smart contract, to fix some of the problem we have in the gaming industry and also the esports industry.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of, actually you answered one of my biggest questions, because we all hear, I think at least once we hear gaming companies talking about blockchain. So we're doing that in blockchain. We're using blockchain. We're painting our walls with blockchain, and we honestly we don't have much idea what can be done using like smart contracts, blockchain, and tokenization to help the scenario, the gaming industry. And one of the main applications of that so far, as I'm seeing, is eSports. So I'll let Vijay talk a little bit about what's being done in terms of innovation to what we hope is going to be the standard of esports in the future. Because here we are talking, we know how esports work. And how prizes are done. So you have sponsorships, you have teams paying for to be part of a championship, but tournament. But in the end, that money goes to someone's hand, and who knows how that's being managed. So there's a lot of technology being developed right now that can definitely help with that issue and move actually the industry further. So let Vijay show us a little bit of what's going on there.
Sure. Thank you. So again, like I said, initially we are talking about two biggest trends. One is the blockchain that's going to change everything, not just esports. The other big thing is our point of view, esports is going to be the future of entertainment. And we also believe is going to be powered by blockchain. And I don't need to go through, you guys are from the gaming industry, you know how big esports is. It's growing tremendously. Lots of people watching, lots of brands are getting interested in, and now Fortnite announcing 100 million prize pool, that's changing the whole esports into a completely different level, right? And even when I did the presentation, it was for last year, the whole esports industry was 100 million. Now just one game announcing 100 million is going to change everything. So esports is big. So in the esports, we try to capture some of the ecosystem actors. So organizers are main actors, and developers, players, viewers, and streamers and brands. There are other actors in there, but these are the main groups. So now let's kind of talk about how blockchain is going to change every one of these actors. So for example, organizers, when they organize esports tournaments, they actually get into a contract. But today, there's no way to manage esports in a common contract. So I'm actually going to give you a good example at the next slide, how an esports contract would look like, right? And then, so we'll skip that. Now, let's talk about developers. Developers, when there are two main issues with the esports and the gaming and the developing. One issue, still, when we talk about esports and the traditional sports, football, no one owns football, right? You can get a game, anybody can just go and play football. You don't have to pay loyalty for playing football or cricket or any game. No one owns it. But the problem in esports is the games are owned by publishers. They control everything. And most of the time, most of the money is going to the publishers. And so that's one issue. The next issue is today the gaming industry within the virtual goods. There's an ecosystem. I think probably the gaming industry is one of the industry using virtual goods and virtual money and virtual currency for a long time. But with blockchain, it's going to go to a completely next level. So think about a gun, and in a Counter-Strike, every gun is a unique asset. Think about Fallen winning the final match with that gun. And that has a unique ID. The value of the gun now has been tracked, and it's going to be huge, just like the winning goal of the soccer ball that did with the signature of the player. So now every asset can be tracked, and so it could be just within the game, whether it's Counter-Strike or the League of Legends, assets, skins, everything can be tracked. And it can have value, who is playing it, how it has been used, and it's going to have its own ecosystem and life cycle. And now, in the future, you can also transcend games. So the same asset, same gun, what if we can take that gun and also play it in other games? So it is an asset in the whole ecosystem, but many games can use the asset. So it can create a completely new vertical of it's like gun producers, right? So now virtual good producers, they can come up with very fancy virtual goods, and all the games can just use it. And now when you own it, that's going to be an ownership. So the blockchain is going to change the whole development into the whole virtual ecosystem. And this is new. I think, because I think most of you are game developers, I would recommend thinking about it, because this is what the future of ecosystem is going to look like. And the games also, eventually, it's not going to be immediate, but eventually we believe the games are going to be done with a decentralized ownership model like a blockchain, so that no one need to own games. The games are going to be owned by the community, and it will have some sort of blockchain integration, blockchain ecosystem, so that it doesn't need to be really owned by one person or one company, but the community can own, but still the developers can still make money with the assets, with the new virtual goods. So this whole development gaming ecosystem is going to be changed. So we believe in the future we will not have this problem of publishers owning this game, so it should be owned by the community. The next one is players. Today, players have lots of problems, especially when they create a team, the team contracts, player rights management, how they get paid, how the winnings get paid, all of them. And we are hearing stories from a grassroots level to larger brands not paying for winners. There's news all over. But if we put all these contracts into a smart contract, it's going to create transparency, no one can cheat, it's going to be very clean. So that player management, the team management, is going to be probably one of those things immediately going to be in some sort of blockchain smart contract. Viewers, there's already lots of tokens available for viewers to tip and engage with brands. So that's going to be a huge smart contract token system. Streamers are going to have new ways to monetize when they stream with their tokens and engagement with their viewers, and they're going to have contract directly with the brands. So today, well, let's talk about brand and the streamers. Brands put money into things. They hope they will get the result they want, but there's no real guarantee. But now if they put it in a smart contract saying that I will give you, if you give me 1 million views, it's a smart contract. If you don't give me 1 million views, the money is not going to be there. So even for the brands and the streamers, it's going to create some sort of accountability, and also it's going to create transparency. Right? So this whole ecosystem is going to change into complete blockchain-powered ecosystem. But we see lots of gambling type. So if you look at the eSports and what is happening in the blockchain, there are lots of tokens that's using more for gambling and betting. But there are new projects coming out to address some of these, and some of the projects that we are actually working on to address some of these bigger issues. So here's an example of, this is, I would thank one of our projects. This is something that we are working on. This is an example of an eSports smart contract. So think about in an eSports, there's brand, an organizer, a tournament organizer comes in and set up a tournament, and they got into a smart contract saying that I will take 20% of the cut, for example, right? And the brands said, okay, I'm going to put money in, let's say I put $100,000. And now the server provider, whoever providing the infrastructure, they said, I will provide the infrastructure, this is my cost. And they get into a smart contract. And the casters, now they can get into a smart contract. Okay, I will provide you 1 million views for this one, because that's when the brands is going to put the money in. And the viewers, now they're going to engage with the brands and earn token and use the token to tip their casters and players. So this whole ecosystem now controlled by a centralized blockchain smart contract. So what happens is, if all the money, when the brand put the money in, is all locked up in some sort of escrow. So there's going to be no issues of people not getting paid. People know if they deliver this service, they're going to get paid, and it is guaranteed by the blockchain. So this smart contract will eliminate all the issues that we are having in the esports world today, whether it's transparency issues, whether it's payment issues, and also giving new monetization and giving comfort level for the brands to put money in now, because now they know they're going to get the guarantee. Because in esports, we need lots of injection of capital from the brands, and this is going to enable that. So just to summarize where we are going with blockchain and esports, the blockchain, the games itself, with the that's going to move into blockchain. So in a decentralized ownership or owned by the community and with some sort of monetization model for the developers. And the economy, whether it's assets and the virtual goods and skins, they are going to be into a crypto virtual economy that within the game or transcending the games into a gaming ecosystem. And it's going to give more power to the gamers because this whole system is going to be owned by the gamers, right? So that is the near future, not even too long. It's going to be very near future. Thank you.
All right. So as we wait for the questions, I think there's a tablet with the questions, if any. Okay, so we don't have any questions through the tool. So I'm gonna make a question. I'm gonna start the questioning. My question for you, Vijay, is that how it's a common perception that at least Bitcoin is quite unstable. Like the currencies, they fluctuate a lot, and we're seeing like farms in China and all that. And blockchain, it's what is the risk? As all new technologies, there's things that need to be fixed, things that need to be discovered, and things like that. So how a system like this, how do you make sure that the ecosystem that you just shown us is going to be actually 100% safe? I know there's the smart contracts, but someone is running the smart contracts. So it's how do you close this gap? How are you thinking? What is the future of that? Because with all the cybersecurity issues that are coming, they're happening right now. So how do we make sure that the future is actually cyber safe for our cyber ecosystem?
Sure. So let me address this by first kind of categorizing these issues, right? First is the value of Bitcoin. That's nothing to do with the technology of Bitcoin.
Okay.
Right? It's completely. So the value, yes, anything you put in, people are going to speculate, people are going to manipulate. This is when this is completely separate. That's nothing
Perfect.
to do with the technology and how the technology is going to change the world. So yes, it's fluctuate. I wouldn't recommend. If you want, you can play that. That's gambling, right? So let's leave that alone because that's not going to change. Eventually, it will become stable, but that's a different story.
Perfect.
Technologically, blockchain, as I said, is never been hacked. So it as a technology so far, it is so secure that you cannot hack blockchain. The other talk about the smart contract. So no one runs smart. So one of the misconceptions, somebody is going to run smart contract. No single person runs the smart contracts. So what happens is we talk about this distributed ledger. So if this is the ecosystem and we are running the network, every one of us have our computers are connected to this network, and the smart contracts resides in every one of our computers. Right? It's not even single. So this is the biggest misconception of blockchain. So there's no central authority. There's no central person actually runs the blockchain. Right? So every one of us runs it. So one person think that I want to, hey, let me cheat and I want to change it, but rest of the team is going to go, no, you're done, you can't. So there's always these one or two players trying to cheat, but that's a good thing with the blockchain. You can't do anything with it because the whole network have to agree with your change to make it into the system, right? So this is not, so that's why it is security point of view. This is the most secure thing out there. Right? So what got hacked is people building applications still doing some centralized things. So for example, one of these exchanges, when they use the blockchain, but for all their customers, one of them, I don't want to kind of name it, they just use one private key for all their customers. Right? It's just simple cryptographic hygiene. And then if somebody get hold of that private key, and let's say that's a bank or exchange, all of your money is gone. It's not the blockchain got hacked, it's these individuals and trying to act like intermediaries, which blockchain actually says you don't need intermediaries, but when you're trying to act like intermediaries, then you get hacked. So blockchain is a technology, it is not, it is completely safe, at least so far. It's never been hacked, and I'm not the cryptography expert, but the expert says it's never so far is safe.
Perfect. So, have any questions from the audience? Alguém tem alguma pergunta? Diga. Pode falar em português. Eu
minuto, eu vou levar o microfone
Isso,
até você.
eu traduzo.
Seu nome e a pergunta, por favor.
I'll try in English. Hi,
Okay.
my name is Igor. Thank you, Vijay, for the great speech. Can you talk more about the difference between proof of work of Bitcoin and proof of stake of Ethereum? Because I see very many applications using Ethereum, and the proof of stake is really decentralized. That's the question. Thank you.
So now we're kind of getting into, we kind of high level said the whole society have to agree on this. So the agreement is called consensus. We have to, and so there are different consensus algorithms. So one is proof of work, which is the original algorithm that proposed by Satoshi. And then original Ethereum actually was using proof of work, and then now is moving into proof of stake. But the original was proof of stake, and I think the new one is actually kind of hybrid, proof of stake and proof of stake. So let me kind of go a bit deep into what is proof of work, right? So proof of work, let's say we all here, our computers are connected to the network, and everyone get compensated for doing your work. So what is the work? Work is keeping the ledger and writing. So let's say, think about a ledger, like a book, right? Every page, you can write transactions, right? So let's say every page, let's say have 100 transactions, for example. Then once you fill it, you put another page in. So that pages, think about they are the blocks, right? So so someone need to write it and send to everybody, hey, this is the block, put it in. So a block is that think about a page with number of transactions. So the person who actually do that work get compensated. In Bitcoin, they start with 50 Bitcoin for every block you do. Then it's every 4 years, it halves, right? That's how, if you do the limit theory, that's where the 21 million Bitcoins comes in. So what happens is, how do we select who is going to do that work? And when we do the work, we need to compensate because everybody wants money, right? If you hey, I will do all the work and you give me the money. So we need to select someone to do it. So what is proof of work algorithm? It actually plays a cryptographic game. It's a hashing game. It actually sends out, okay, here's a hash. You guess a hash thing. I'm kind of still being high level, right? You do a game. So you guess. So it will give you, let's say, number of zeros you have to match. So you have to guess the gas to get the number of zeros. It's a game. And it's nothing to do with actually blockchain writing. It's just a game. So you actually, your computer, you do it. Whoever guesses that first, get the chance. So it's pretty random. But now, people, what they did, they created ASICs. And that's why they're using GPUs, because they can do the single function faster. Right? So, because the faster you guess, the faster you're going to win. Right? So that's why now you can actually buy Bitcoin miners as a specific hardware to actually do this work, right? Because everybody wants to earn that Bitcoin. So that's what proof of work is. Proof of work is so that you play the game and someone wins, and they now take the transaction, write it in the block, and send it to everybody. This is the transaction. Everybody agrees that, okay, that person win, and they started working on the next block problem. This is what the tragedy of the commerce. So they're not going to say, hey, how come I didn't win? Because instead of wasting the time, I would actually start guessing for my next block, right? So there's no point arguing that. So they won, and so there are other details. What if two people win at the same time? And there's a tiebreaker for that. So there are some details you can go in, but that is proof of work. But in order to do the guessing work, and you probably heard a lot about power, energy usage, blockchain is using lots of energy. Yes, it uses lots of compute power to do that because it's lots of power and compute resources. But that's what it gives the security as well. It gives so that no one can cheat. The problem is, go in a bit deeper. So every block you do it, and you actually encrypt the block. But when you encrypt the block, you actually take a hash function from the previous block and include it on the next block. That's why it's a chain, right? Blockchain. So let's say someone wants to cheat an intermediate block and do something with it. Then they have to do the guessing of all the other blocks, right? So that's why it's almost impossible to go and do that. So that is proof of work. The proof of stake comes in is like based on your ownership of token, based on whether it's the token ownership or whether it's so based on the ownership of the token, you get like number of votes. Right? So yeah, and there are discussion about whether proof of stake is actually more secure. There are lots of cryptography discussions, but proof of stake looks like is almost equal than, and what it gives speeding up the process, and so now you don't have to use lots of resources. So based on, it's like a voting system. So they are trying to use less power and speed up the process so you can have more transaction. So the way that Bitcoin did, every 10 minutes there's a block. It's actually controlled cryptographically. That's why it's slow. They're saying that we can do it like Visa, like millions of transactions a second. How do we compete with Visa? Blockchain is designed to be very consistent with timing, and so now they are speeding up. There are other algorithms like delegated proof of stake. So instead of having everybody voting, they are kind of trying to delegate some people to vote. But then the way that I see most of the consensus are, they are trying to compromise the actual security to get more features. Right? Most of these things are still in flux. The only thing that's really proven that works is proof of work. Right? Everything is an experiment. Vitalik is fully behind proof of stake. I'm not the expert on cryptography, and these guys are. And hopefully, these are all experiments happening to get more features. But the way that I see, there are lots of projects coming out that I can do millions of transactions per second and things like that. But they are, the way that I see it, they are actually compromising some of the security, some of the fundamental values decentralization of the blockchain to add more features. So they are most becoming centralized.
Okay, so thank you so much, Vijay, for the for this like lecture, this class on the thing. It's amazing. The guy knows everything. It's amazing. I have two questions. I have a couple questions. So we have like 7 minutes. So we have like 3.5 minutes for each one of them. But the first one is asking about the example you gave about the gun ownership in Counter-Strike. So you have the gun that I don't know, like Fallen used and that's tokenized. How would be the relationship with the developers for that, or there would be no relationship? How that would work?
Actually, I just gave you an example of Counter-Strike is because Counter-Strike is owned by Valve.
Exactly.
Without Valve things, you can't do anything. But this is an example of new games being developed. And when the new games being developed, even eventually Valve might say, you know what, let's put it in blockchain. I don't know what their stand on it. Just an example. But I believe the new games, the next big Counter-Strike, that's going to be developed with blockchain-based ecosystem.
Okay, absolutely. That's great. So for future games, that's we're talking about the future here, right? The close future.
Maybe the Valve and Blizzard and the guys can.
They're looking at it.
They
Right?
can look at it. I'm pretty sure they are looking at it. I have no knowledge of.
So
what they're doing.
the second question is interesting, and how can I use how could I use blockchain in my game? Is there somewhere some source of information where I can learn about it besides obviously Google?
Yes, there are many blockchain blocks. So I think this is again blockchain. There are people are trying to educate blockchain in the MOOC. I think MOOC is like Coursera or the online courses. There's in Toronto. There's a good organization called Block Geeks. I think it's done by the father of Vitalik Buterin. They actually have really good free materials and also some free courses on how to develop D-apps and things. I have also seen now new projects coming out. What we can do in my presentation, if I'll probably put it in SlideShare and add a slide with what are the other blockchain projects going on. I have seen one project, I think it's Loom Network. I'll get the name right, but they are actually trying to give a environment for developers to develop blockchain with the ecosystems. So it's like a traditional game development environment with the blockchain. So there are new projects coming on. I didn't do the research to do everything,
Absolutely.
but I probably put it in the slides.
Okay, great. So one of the things that we can do as soon as you give the version of the presentation, we're gonna upload it on obviously the Big Festival platform and also on GamePlan Facebook. So if you wanna know what's going on GamePlan Facebook, that is at Game Consultants, we will be publishing that information there as well, because they're great partners. We're bringing all that great thing here to Brazil and Latin America, so there's a lot of great things coming up. So we do have 3 minutes and 25 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we have a question up there. Yeah, but you need a microphone for the translation.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jan. I work for a Brazilian publisher, and I wrote my question in English. Esports, as of today, doesn't have a proper regulation in Brazil, at least. Today, we're seeing a movement of the government trying to impose a set of rules in esports, trying to get part of the ownership in it, since it's of their interest, both financial and conceptual. We know that technologies powered by blockchain doesn't have regulations as part of the concept, as you said. And that's exactly what makes it unstable sometimes, and thus gives it not trustworthy brand to people not familiarized with it. How does it maintain stability and trustability? And how can it avoid regulations from governments?
Good question. So let me, again, when we talk about regulations, governments having trouble actually regulating blockchain. They can't. What they can regulate is when you want to take the money out. So when they can catch is during an exchange. So having a blockchain-based ecosystem within the ecosystem, they cannot do it. This is their biggest nightmare. Whether it's government or banks, that's their problem. They cannot regulate blockchain itself. But as the minute that you want to take that asset, whether it's a Bitcoin, Ethereum, or new token, that you want to cash it out in a local currency, that's where they can catch. So this is where they're trying to enforce rules. But even that, I don't think they are kind of after that. Most of these countries now after this ICO craze. Right? So the ICO is the way that you raise funds. Let's say you want to create a project in 2015s, 14s, 15s, you can just come up with some idea, do a white paper, do a crowd sale, you can raise millions of dollars. But the problem is there's no accountability on that. And then what happens is there are some good projects and there are lots of scams, right? So, and then it kind of out of normal people started trying to invest in these ICOs without really understanding it. So we are seeing lots of regulatory resources being spent on regulating or trying to control the ICO. But cashing out there's not that much regulation yet. So like normally most of the countries is very easier, not with a traditional bank. There's also something happening. There are new type of banks coming out. For example, in Canada, we actually talk about blockchain. In North America, I had a bank account, it's Royal Bank. And they came and shut down all our accounts because we are talking about blockchain and ICO. But there's a bank called Silicon Valley Bank that's actually is from Silicon Valley. They actually integrated Bitcoin exchange directly into the bank account. There are lots of banks in Europe, they're coming out, new banks, they're integrating these exchanges directly with the account. So I think this is, the regulations are more focused on the ICO, but they can regulate how you get money out. That's going to be a change. I think government's eventually going to figure out, if you have enough ecosystem, it's almost impossible. Only time you have to worry about when you have to get the money out. But having a game in the blockchain or virtual goods in the blockchain, it cannot regulate.
Okay, so perfect. So our time here is done. So I'd like to, again, thank Vijay for this incredible presentation. I'm gonna, if you wanna know more, he's here, part of his team is here. You can, go to Facebook. There's a page on Swarmio, is SWAMEO, Swarmio Brasil. Vocês podem acompanhar, tem muita coisa acontecendo lá. Na página da GamePlan também, Game Consultants no Facebook, procura a gente. E por último, eu queria agradecer as nossas tradutoras incríveis que estão na cabine, que fazem um trabalho maravilhoso e foram capazes de traduzir o inglês do Vijay. Então, animal. E, gente, obrigado por tudo. Sou eu, André Faure, out. Obrigado.
Muito obrigado a todos que acompanharam esse painel, especialmente nossos convidados. Vamos aplaudir o Vijay Karthigesu. Thank you very much. E o André Faure, da GamePlan. Muito obrigado. Vamos aplaudir o André também. A programação do Big Festival 2018 prossegue. Agora às 13 horas teremos o painel Encontro com Festivais. Não esqueçam de subir a nossa hashtag Big Festival 2018. Obrigado a todos. Até daqui a pouco.